Gentlemen, every woman may appear strong, independent, and full of confidence on the outside, but deep inside, she carries emotional, psychological, and even physical sensitivities that most men never truly understand. These aren't weaknesses in the negative sense. They're hidden doors that, when unlocked, can create deep attraction, trust, and intimacy. The problem is, many men either overlook these subtle points or misuse them, which pushes women away instead of bringing them closer. If you want to build a stronger connection, keep her attention, and truly stand out from every other man she meets, you must learn how to recognize and respond to these hidden female weaknesses. In this speech, we'll uncover 9 powerful, yet delicate aspects of a woman's nature that can completely change the way she looks at you. Mastering them will not only make you more attractive, but it will also help you create lasting bonds built on passion, trust, and emotional depth. When it comes to understanding women, one of the most important yet often overlooked truths is their emotional sensitivity and the deep desire for validation. Unlike men, who are often conditioned to suppress or compartmentalize their emotions, women tend to process their feelings openly, and this becomes one of their greatest vulnerabilities. Many men misinterpret this sensitivity as a weakness in the negative sense, but in reality, it is a channel into a woman's heart. A woman feels most connected to a man who can see her emotions not as a problem to solve, but as an opportunity to connect. Too many men make the mistake of thinking that if she shares her struggles or frustrations, she's asking for solutions. In truth, most of the time, she's seeking empathy, understanding, and the comfort of knowing that she's not alone in her feelings. This distinction between solving and listening is massive, and it separates men who remain surface level in relationships from men who become irreplaceable. Imagine a scenario: a woman comes home after a long, stressful day. She begins to vent about how her boss dismissed her ideas, how her coworkers ignored her contributions, or how she felt unappreciated. A typical man might respond with, "Well, maybe you should confront your boss directly," or "Just quit if you don't like it." While logical, these responses miss the deeper need. What she is really asking for is acknowledgement of her feelings. If instead the man responded with, "I understand why that would make you feel so frustrated. You worked hard and deserve to be heard," she would immediately feel validated. That sense of being heard and emotionally supported is a form of intimacy far stronger than any gift or grand gesture could provide. It tells her, "This man understands me," and that understanding creates attraction at a level men often underestimate. The weakness here lies not in a lack of strength, but in the fact that emotions are the key to a woman's inner world. When a man dismisses or belittles her feelings, it's like shutting a door in her face. Over time, she withdraws, loses trust, and stops sharing altogether. On the other hand, when he embraces her emotions and treats them with respect, she becomes more open, more trusting, and more deeply connected. This is why women are drawn to men who listen carefully, who ask questions to understand rather than to interrogate, and who create a safe space for her to express herself without fear of judgment. That safe space is one of the most powerful forms of emotional security a man can provide. Another crucial layer to emotional sensitivity is how women internalize criticism. A harsh word, a dismissive tone, or constant invalidation can leave deep scars because women often tie their self-worth to how the people they love perceive them. When a man criticizes without empathy or constantly points out flaws without balancing it with appreciation, he unknowingly attacks her vulnerability. This doesn't mean a man should never express his needs or concerns, but the way he does it matters immensely. A man who says, "I love how much effort you put into us, and maybe we could also try this to make things even better," is far more effective than one who bluntly says, "You're doing it wrong." Women remember how a man makes them feel more than what he actually says, and that emotional imprint can last for years. Validation also plays a powerful role in attraction because it reinforces a woman's femininity. When a man recognizes her efforts, compliments her not just on her looks, but on her character, her intelligence, or her kindness, she feels seen for who she truly is. Many men underestimate how much women crave this type of recognition. It's not about flattery or shallow compliments. It's about making her feel that her presence matters and that her emotions are valid. This is especially true during difficult moments. When a woman is upset, her defenses may rise, and she may say things she doesn't fully mean. A man who reacts defensively or with anger escalates the situation. But a man who remains calm, acknowledges her feelings, and reassures her creates a level of emotional maturity that women deeply admire. To connect this concept to real relationships, consider why so many women are drawn to men who are described as good listeners. It's not that these men have extraordinary conversation skills. It's that they make women feel heard without rushing to conclusions. They nod, they ask thoughtful follow-up questions, and they refrain from judgment. These small actions signal to a woman's subconscious mind that this man is trustworthy, patient, and emotionally intelligent. In a world where most people are too busy to truly listen, being that one man who can offer full attention is like water in the desert. It becomes addictive for her, and she will seek that connection again and again. There is also a biological and psychological reason why emotional sensitivity is a woman's weakness. Evolutionarily, women have relied on emotional awareness to ensure survival. Detecting danger, maintaining social bonds, and caring for children all require heightened emotional intelligence. This makes them naturally more attuned to emotional nuances, but it also means they feel emotions more deeply and are more affected by emotional neglect. For men, understanding this dynamic is crucial. It's not about manipulating emotions, but about respecting them and realizing they are the gateway to a lasting relationship. Of course, some men worry that constantly validating a woman's emotions might make them appear weak or overly submissive. But true validation is not about agreeing with everything she says or abandoning your own perspective. It's about acknowledging her feelings as real and important, even if you see the situation differently. A strong man can say, "I understand why you feel that way and I respect it," while still holding his own ground. Women respect men who balance empathy with strength, those who can listen without losing their own sense of identity. Ultimately, emotional sensitivity and validation form one of the most significant weaknesses that men can either misuse or master. When ignored, it becomes a source of conflict, distance, and resentment. But when embraced, it becomes a powerful bond that ties a woman's heart to a man's presence. Every woman wants to feel like her emotions matter, like she's not too much to handle, and like her vulnerability is safe in the hands of the man she loves. Men who recognize this need are not only more attractive, they are unforgettable. They step into a rare category of partners who make women feel cherished, understood, and emotionally secure. And in the end, that's the kind of connection every woman is truly searching for, even if she doesn't openly admit it. One of the most overlooked truths about women is their deep desire for attention and appreciation. At first glance, this may sound simple, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful emotional triggers a man can activate. A woman may be independent, successful, and confident, but underneath all of that, she wants to feel noticed, valued, and cherished by the man she chooses to be with. Men often underestimate how much weight even small gestures of appreciation carry. It is not just about compliments on her appearance. It is about recognizing her efforts, her sacrifices, her uniqueness, and the little details she puts into making the relationship thrive. When a woman feels invisible, she slowly disconnects emotionally, but when she feels seen, she attaches herself more deeply and naturally desires to give back to the man who acknowledges her worth. Attention is not about overwhelming her with constant praise or smothering her with affection. It is about meaningful recognition. Women notice everything. When she changes her hairstyle, when she wears something new, when she cooks a meal differently, or when she goes out of her way to support you. These small actions may seem insignificant to a man, but to her, they represent effort. When those efforts go unnoticed, she may start to question whether you value her presence at all. On the other hand, when you pay attention and make her feel like those small gestures matter, you build a strong emotional connection. A simple, "I love how you did this," or "You look amazing today," can uplift her spirit for hours, even days. What makes appreciation such a profound weakness is that it directly feeds into a woman's sense of femininity. Women naturally want to feel desirable, elegant, and unique. They want to know that the man they're with doesn't take them for granted. Too many relationships crumble not because of major betrayals, but because of slow neglect. A man who forgets anniversaries, ignores her effort in maintaining the household, or never acknowledges her sacrifices chips away at her emotional bond. She may stay physically present, but her heart begins to wander. She may start craving validation elsewhere, not necessarily in another man, but in her work, friendships, or social media attention. This is why a man who masters the art of giving genuine attention and appreciation stands out. He fills a need that others ignore. To truly understand this weakness, imagine a woman who spends hours preparing for a date. She carefully selects her outfit, styles her hair, and applies makeup, all with the intention of making herself look beautiful for the man she cares about. If he picks her up and doesn't even notice, she feels unimportant. But if he pauses, looks her in the eye, and says, "You look absolutely stunning tonight," her heart softens instantly. That one moment of appreciation makes all her effort worthwhile. It tells her that she is not wasting her energy, that she matters, and that her man truly sees her. This reaction is not vanity, it is emotional fulfillment. Women blossom when they feel admired, but appreciation goes beyond physical looks. Women also want recognition for the intangible things they do. Being supportive when you're stressed, listening when you're frustrated, encouraging you when you doubt yourself, or simply being there when life feels overwhelming. Men often assume women do these things naturally, but the truth is they put their heart into it. When a man pauses to say, "Thank you for always supporting me," or "I appreciate how much you care about me," it strengthens the emotional bond like nothing else. It reassures her that her role is valued and that her efforts are not being overlooked. Attention also plays a role in attraction because it separates a man from every other competitor. Women are constantly surrounded by noise, social media, work, responsibilities, but what they crave most is focused attention from the man they care about. When you give her your undivided attention, putting away distractions and truly listening to her, you make her feel like she is the only one in the room. That is intoxicating for a woman. It reassures her that she holds a special place in your life and that no one else can replace her. A man who can provide that kind of attention becomes unforgettable because in today's world, where everyone is distracted, focus is rare and deeply valuable. There is also a psychological element at play. Women, by nature, are often more self-critical than men. They may doubt their beauty, question their worth, or compare themselves to others. When a man consistently gives her appreciation, he becomes the counterbalance to those insecurities. Instead of feeding her doubts, he reassures her. Instead of making her feel replaceable, he makes her feel irreplaceable. That emotional reinforcement builds loyalty. A woman who feels cherished by her man will go to great lengths to support him, nurture him, and prioritize the relationship above all else. However, there is an important balance to strike. Overdoing attention or giving shallow compliments can have the opposite effect. Women are intuitive and can sense when appreciation is insincere. Telling her she is beautiful every 5 minutes without truly meaning it will eventually sound empty. The power lies in sincerity. Real appreciation comes from noticing details others miss. It's the difference between saying, "You look nice," and saying, "That dress brings out the sparkle in your eyes." The second comment shows thought, attention, and effort. It makes her feel truly special. Some men also fear that giving too much attention will make them appear weak or needy. But the truth is, genuine appreciation doesn't lower your value. It raises it. A strong man who is secure in himself has no problem acknowledging the beauty, effort, and value of the woman he loves. Weak men with fragile egos often withhold compliments because they fear giving a woman too much power. But women don't see appreciation as weakness. They see it as strength. It shows emotional intelligence and confidence. It shows that a man is mature enough to uplift his woman rather than compete with her. The absence of attention, on the other hand, is destructive. Over time, neglect becomes emotional starvation. A woman who feels unnoticed will eventually stop putting in effort, not because she doesn't care, but because she no longer feels it matters. That is why many long-term relationships fade. The spark doesn't die because of time, but because of neglect. Reigniting that spark often requires nothing more than reintroducing appreciation. A small compliment, a thank you note, a thoughtful gesture, or simply pausing to tell her you value her can breathe life back into a relationship that feels dull. In the end, attention and appreciation are not luxuries in a relationship, they are necessities. They are the fuel that keeps a woman emotionally invested and connected. Men who master this understand that women don't just want to be loved, they want to be celebrated. They want to know that their presence adds value, that their efforts are recognized, and that they are cherished not just in words, but in consistent actions. When a man provides this, he taps into one of a woman's deepest weaknesses and turns it into a powerful bond. She not only feels loved, but also feels special. And when a woman feels special, she will move mountains for the man who made her feel that way. When it comes to female attraction, one of the most underestimated yet powerful weaknesses lies in their physical and romantic triggers. While men often assume that women are only swayed by grand gestures or physical appearances, the truth is that a woman's response to a man is rooted in far more subtle, intimate cues. Women may appear strong and controlled, but they are deeply affected by touch, presence, body language, and the romantic energy a man radiates. These elements are not superficial. They touch her subconscious mind and awaken her femininity in ways that words alone cannot. A man who understands this is able to create an irresistible pull because he learns to engage with her on a primal level that bypasses logic and connects directly with her emotions and desires. Unlike men, who are often more visually stimulated, women are far more responsive to how they feel in a man's presence. This is why two men with the same level of physical attractiveness can have vastly different effects on the same woman. The difference lies not in looks, but in how one man makes her feel desired, safe, and feminine. A confident gaze, a steady posture, and a touch delivered at the right moment can ignite emotions that words alone cannot achieve. For example, when a man gently places his hand on her lower back as they walk together, it communicates protection, intimacy, and ownership in a way that makes her feel secure yet desired. These small gestures, though seemingly insignificant, leave a deep imprint on her subconscious. Romantic triggers are equally powerful. Women are highly responsive to experiences that make them feel special and cherished. This does not always mean elaborate dinners or expensive gifts. Often, it is the smaller, thoughtful actions that matter most, surprising her with her favorite snack, leaving a note that says you were thinking of her, or planning a quiet evening where the focus is solely on her. These acts of romance show intentionality, and intentionality is what makes her feel important. A man who invests thought into creating special moments awakens a deep longing within her because women crave experiences that validate their worth. Touch, however, remains one of the most potent physical triggers. Science has shown that touch releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, which fosters trust, closeness, and affection. For women, certain areas of the body are especially sensitive to touch, not just sexually, but emotionally. A simple caress on the hand during a conversation, a gentle stroke of her hair, or pulling her closer during a hug can send signals of intimacy that words fail to express. What matters is not the intensity of the touch, but the timing and intention behind it. When touch feels protective, loving, or intentional, it lowers her defenses and invites her to trust. When it feels rushed, forced, or mechanical, it does the opposite. Another overlooked trigger is the power of voice and tone. A man's words carry weight not just in content, but in delivery. A calm, deep, confident tone has the ability to soothe a woman, disarm her defenses, and spark attraction. Whispered words in the right context can feel more intimate than a loud declaration of love. For instance, during a quiet evening, leaning close and softly telling her how much she means to you can stir emotions she cannot control. Women may not always remember the exact words you said, but they will always remember how your voice made them feel. Romantic energy also includes the ability to create anticipation. Women thrive on emotional build-up and the subtle dance of attraction. Unlike men, who may rush toward physical intimacy, women often prefer a gradual progression that allows their emotions and desires to heighten over time. A man who knows how to tease playfully, who maintains eye contact just a moment longer, who creates an air of mystery, taps into her natural craving for suspense and excitement. This is why romance novels and movies captivate women so much. They build anticipation, painting a picture of longing before fulfillment. Bringing that same energy into real life creates a dynamic where she feels both secure and thrilled, a combination that is incredibly addictive. What makes physical and romantic triggers such a weakness for women is that they allow her to surrender without fear. In everyday life, women are often expected to be strong, composed, and in control. But in the presence of a man who understands how to use his touch, presence, and romantic gestures, she feels free to let go. She can embrace her vulnerability and her femininity because she trusts that he knows how to handle it. That experience is rare, and when she finds it, she does not want to let it go. It is also important to note that romance and physical triggers are not one size fits all. Every woman has her unique preferences, and part of a man's skill is learning what resonates with her personally. Some women may melt when a man surprises them with flowers, while others may find more meaning in quality time and undivided attention. Some women may respond intensely to touch on their hands or shoulders, while others may find a gentle kiss on the forehead more intimate than anything else. The key is observation and responsiveness, paying attention to her reactions and adjusting accordingly. A man who can adapt to her specific needs shows a level of attentiveness that magnifies attraction. Too many men, however, overlook this area because they assume romance is either unnecessary or outdated. They dismiss it as something only seen in movies, failing to realize that women never outgrow their desire for romance. No matter how independent or modern she is, she still wants to feel like the heroine of her own story. This is not about manipulation. It is about fulfilling a natural emotional need. A man who provides this creates a bond that competitors cannot easily break. On the flip side, neglecting physical and romantic triggers can weaken the relationship. When a man stops paying attention to touch, when he stops putting in effort to create romantic experiences, when he becomes complacent, a woman starts to feel neglected. She may not immediately leave, but the emotional distance grows, and eventually she may seek that missing spark elsewhere. This is why keeping romance alive is not just for the beginning of a relationship. It must be sustained. The same small gestures that won her heart in the beginning are the ones that will keep her heart tied to you over the long term. Ultimately, women are not seeking perfection in a man's looks or wealth, but rather in his ability to make them feel desired, valued, and feminine. Physical and romantic triggers are the pathway to achieving that. When a man uses touch with intention, speaks with warmth, maintains an air of romance, and creates anticipation, he taps into a woman's deepest emotional wiring. She feels seen, cherished, and irresistibly drawn to him. And because these triggers bypass logic and connect directly to emotion, they are nearly impossible for her to resist. The mastery of physical and romantic triggers is not about manipulation, but about understanding and honoring what makes women feel alive in love. It is about recognizing that attraction is not built solely on appearances or words, but on experiences and emotions. A man who embraces this truth becomes more than just a partner. He becomes the source of her excitement, her comfort, and her passion. For a woman, that is a weakness she gladly gives into because it fulfills a longing she cannot satisfy on her own.